What's going on, everybody? My name is Aiden, you're watching CLUBBMOTO, and today we're changing oil. Alright, so this is going to be like a little quick how-to video on how to do a 3-chamber oil change on a Harley Davidson. This is a early model Dyna. It's an 04 lowrider. It's the FX DLI. So the first thing you're going to want to get is your service manual, or at least, because that, you want your service manual whenever you're working on the bike. You got to get the service manual, because it'll give you all the specs, the proper amounts of fluids in each chamber and all that kind of stuff. You can go down to the dealership if you don't have the service manual or you can't buy one, ask them for the specs and stuff like that. But I'll provide the specs for the 04 model. I got it straight from the service manual in the description. This right here is the Harley Davidson 20W50 synthetic, the Syn 3. People will run the Syn 3 in all 3 chambers. You can do that. It's probably been done on this bike. This will be the first oil change that I've done since I've owned it. So I'm pretty sure that the old owner put Syn 3 in all 3 chambers. But Harley came out with the gear oil, 80 weight. So because they came out with the gear oil, I'm going to use that. So the gear oil will go into the primary and the tranny only. You do not want to have gear oil in your engine. That will f up your day. So anytime you do your oil change, you're going to want to get a new oil filter. So just get that from Harley Davidson or JP Cycles or whatever. Here it comes. And we'll go through how to install that. And then I just got a gasket kit because I'll be taking other covers off later. So and I already have a primary cover gasket, so might as well get all the gaskets. But the one we need right here is the derby cover gasket. And then there's the 3 O-rings for the drain plugs, because when you change your oil, you want to inspect those O-rings on the drain plugs and make sure that they haven't been warped or torn, or they got dried out and cracked, because then you'll just change your oil and you have fresh oil in there. And if you reuse a bad O-ring, you're gonna end up with an oil leak, and then you'll have to do the whole thing again. So then I've just got this is a special Harley Davidson funnel that goes in on the derby cover, because you're gonna take the derby cover off to fill the gear oil into the primary. So this one, it can be kind of a tricky place to get a funnel. So this is like 10 bucks at Harley Davidson. So I just picked that up. It sits right where the derby cover is, and you can just pour the oil right down there. And then I picked up, it comes in a 3-pack of some just little paper funnels, and I'll probably only use 2 of them. And so I'll keep the extra one for like a on the road, like roadside emergency, with some extra oil. So, and then oil filter wrench. Harley has like special ones for their oil filters. I grabbed this one from my toolbox at school, so hopefully it'll work. I haven't used it yet on a Harley, so we'll see if it fits around the oil filter. So the very first thing you're going to want to do, especially I'm doing it outside because I've been riding the bike recently. I didn't want to take it down to the shop, put it on the lift and go through all that. And it's a little nicer, and it's on the jiffy stand, so, or the kickstand or whatever. So this is just going to be the most down and dirty tutorial. This will get you could do this in a parking lot. You don't have to have, that many special tools. You don't have to have an extreme amount of knowledge. You don't have to have a motorcycle lift. And the first thing you want to do if you're working outside, of course, and anywhere, is have a clean workspace, and then make sure you use your crash bar as your shop towel holder. That's a key. I don't have an oil pan here, so we're going to use half a milk carton. And then if this fills up, which it might, because, it got 2 quarts around there, it'll probably fill up. Then I'm going to use the top part. I'm going to start with the transmission, since it's on this side. It's a 5/8 socket. So your transmission drain bolt is going to be this one right here. It is flat and facing down. Your engine oil drain bolt will be on the other side, sticking out sideways. So the one facing down is your transmission. This will be about 300 times easier with an actual oil pan, but I wanted to get this done because it's long overdue. And you want to do this right after the bike is hot. So go for a ride around a little bit, get all that engine oil nice and warm so that it flows well.
Yucky.
Yeah, real nice. That's exactly what color you don't want it to look like. You're going to want to take a look at the end of your drain plug. The big thing you're worried about is large chunks of metal. If you see any large chunks, then you might have another issue. You might look into that further. But little chunks like that is normal. So as your transmission is draining, you're going to want to pop the dipstick out. This will aid in the draining. And this is where you're going to fill from anyway, so it's got to come out. Now the last thing I'm going to do on this side real quick for now is take my pick and take this old O-ring off. And that white stuff you're seeing is probably a little bit of pipe dope. Or it's like liquid Teflon, basically. So it's going to keep your shit from leaking even further. But I'm just going to clean it up real quick. And then I'm going to put the new O-ring on there, and we'll throw it back in so that we can fill that side after we drain the rest. Your transmission and your engine oil drain bolt O-ring are the same size, but the primary case drain bolt O-ring is smaller, and it's color coded. It's brown instead of black. I don't have any pipe dope, so I'm not going to put any more pipe dope on it because I don't have any. We're just going to throw that O-ring on there. So the torque spec for that drain bolt is 14 to 21 foot-pounds on this model year. So I'm going to set it at about 18 and we'll see how it feels. You don't want to over torque these because they're stainless steel bolts that go into like aluminum cases. So they will strip. And they'll strip out your cases, and your cases are a lot more expensive than a bolt. Okay, now we're going to do the chain case oil. So you're going to go down from your derby cover basically to the bottom of the primary case. And it's going to be a small T30 on this model, and it's right here. All right. So as that drains, I'm going to, bless you. So as that drains, I'm going to go ahead and clean off the oil plug there. This O-ring actually doesn't look that bad, but it's good practice to just go ahead and replace it. So got that O-ring on, the new one, and I've got it seated properly. So once that finishes draining, we're going to put the plug back in. While we're waiting for the chain case to fully drain, I'm going to go ahead and pop off the derby cover. It's 5 T25 bolts. All right. Remove the old gasket, remove the derby cover, 5 T25 Torx screws. Pretty simple. So your torque spec for your primary case drain bolt is 30 to 60 inch-pounds, so that's like 5 foot-pounds. My foot-pounds torque wrench that I have here, my inch-pounds one's at school, but the foot-pounds one only goes to 10, so I'm just going to give it a nice, good tightening, while not over-torquing it. So we have the transmission drained and the plug back in with a new O-ring. We got the primary drained with a plug back in with a new O-ring. We got the derby cover off with the funnel ready to fill it back up. Our dipstick is out on the transmission side, ready to get filled back up. So we're going to do the engine now. I'll throw a picture up there, but I'll try to also show it on camera where the engine drain bolt is. Oh, yeah! And then your drain bolt falls into your fucking oil, makeshift oil cup. So as the oil is draining out of the engine case, I'm going to go ahead and pull the engine oil dipstick. And it's going to be hot as f***, and I don't know how I'm going to get my hand in here because I got big ass hands. It's just going to wiggle it back and forth and it'll pop right out. And that'll allow it to breathe, to get airflow, and it'll drain. So now the engine oil is draining. We're going to go down because we're going to replace the oil filter because we're good mechanics. And it's right here. And it's going to spill out. The engineers love us, mechanics, so it's going to spill out all over your front motor mount and the electrics to go to your regulator rectifier. So put a piece of cardboard or tinfoil or plastic. Oh, man, handle this. Oh, it's on there. Bitch. Oh. Clamp down on that bitch. Come on. Oh, motherfucker. Nah, she ain't going. Yeah. Oh, there's my drain plug. Put the last little O-ring on the engine drain plug. Make sure it's seated. I already cleaned it off. So that'll be ready to put back in. So now we're going to add the gear oil to the chain case. Okay, so 26 fluid ounces in the primary of the gear oil. And then it also says you can visually inspect it by putting your bike upright, not on the jiffy stand. And if you can see oil down through the derby cover, just hitting the bottom of the chain, then you're good. So now that we've filled the primary, we're gonna grab the new gasket towards clutch. So that's gonna be facing in. We're gonna take some of this good oil, just lube up that gasket material. So it has kind of a suction when it goes on there. So in the transmission, 20 to 24 for this model here, ounces of fluid. You can run this in 3, like I was saying before, or they got the gear oil. So I'm just running the gear oil.
There's a fucking bee. Dude.
You're always battling insects.
Where'd you go, you dirty bastard?
All the oil filter wrenches I had from school did not work on the Harley. I couldn't get them in there. So I did have to go to Harley and buy their oil filter wrench. Specific, and it has like a cutout for the oil pressure sending unit. So that has to be lined up right here. And the foil is to keep, because this is going to be messy. It's going to be pretty messy. So the foil is to keep it as clean as possible. You're not even supposed to put these things on there that tight. You're supposed to, with the twist on, seat it, get it till it's seated, and then do like a quarter to a half turn more. Oh, that thing was on there. This worked better than I thought it was going to, honestly.
Dude, look at this shit.
I'm actually kind of impressed.
It looks like a volcano.
So there's the old oil filter. So we're just gonna let that drain. Then what we're gonna do is take our new oil filter, and we're gonna pour, you fill it up to half to about 3/4 full with the fresh oil, and then you take a little bit of fresh oil and lubricate the little O-ring or the little rubber seal that's on there. And then we'll just twist it on by hand until it seats, and then after that you can continue twisting on by hand if you can to like a quarter or a half a turn more, or you can come in with the wrench and just give it a quarter or half turn more, but it doesn't need to be wrenched on there like the old one was. So the engine on the early model Dyna takes 2.5 quarts wet. Wet would mean if you're just doing an oil change like this, it takes 3 quarts dry, meaning if you pulled the engine out, took the whole thing apart, disassembled it, cleaned it, all that kind of shit. Okay, the new oil filter. Just pouring a little bit of good engine oil in there. That's about halfway. I can see it, actually. I got a little bit on the top. Basically, you're lubing up this seal because it actually creates a better seal to like suction on there. Bring the new oil filter up here. Now it's seated pretty much where I can't get it with my hand. Okay, like I was saying earlier, 2.5 back in the engine because it's considered wet. The way you actually pour these are designed to be poured with the spout at the top. It keeps it from like glug, glug, glugging, you know? A lot of people don't know that.
There's skinnier nozzles than that too, for just cars that you could stick in.
Yeah, I like these kind where they're like long and...
I feel like the funnel we have for a beer bong would work.
Yeah, that is a perfect funnel for this. Put the dipstick back in. This one just pushes down.
You think you can still ripstick?
Oh, yeah, I can still ripstick.
There's no chance you can still ripstick.
With my broken ankles, I can still ripstick. Watch this bullshit. Challenge accepted.
Dude, you changed out of the shoes I just gave you. There's no way you can ripstick in this.
Well, it's because I was stepping on my own. Oh, a rock! Oh yeah, oh yeah. Woo. I still got it. When you're checking the fluids after you've filled them, the primary and the transmission are done with the bike upright, and then the engine is done with the bike on the kickstand. Of course, I put 2-inch taller shocks in the rear and have not swapped out for the extended kickstand yet, so that measurement's going to be completely off, but I'm pretty confident in the engine one. It's very simple. So I'm just going to go ahead and confirm that the oil levels are good. There's a full add, and you want it at the full. And the primary I already checked because you got to take the derby cover off. Well, that's pretty much it. After you fill it up, check your oil levels just to confirm. Make sure all of your drain plug bolts got tightened to the proper specs so you don't end up with a leak down the road. So if you found this video informational or helpful at all, give me a like, comment, subscribe. Talk to me in the comments. I get bored. I answer them quick. Oh, I want this comment section to be blowing up. Make it crazy. That's it. Peace. CLUBBMOTO.
It's leaking.
What the fucking bitch? Is it still leaking?
Oh, right now. Oh, there it comes.
I thought it.